Ever wonder how to manage a real estate portfolio in just 2 hours a week with just a cell phone, all while building a real estate legacy? In today's episode, we are spotlighting an incredible success story from our community, Annette Forbes. Hello, hello. My name is Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh, and I am obsessed with all things short term rentals, revenue streams, and helping you navigate your career, real estate, and your busiest and most wonderful seasons of life. So grab your coffee, get comfortable as you get ready to learn and grow with me. This is the Luxury Rental Doctor Podcast. Hello, friend. This season, we are changing things up a bit and bringing you exclusive highlights from our luxury midterm rental wealth retreat. Now, Annette Forbes is our next speaker, and she is an absolute operations gem. Ex nurse, she joined our community and quickly decided, you know what? I understand this short term rental arbitrage side of things, but she wanted to get into ownership. Now she owns and operates 10 properties that are out of state. And Annette, let me tell you, she is such a master at automating things, eliminating things that do not even belong, and delegating to her team of virtual assistants. Now, her journey is just absolutely inspiring because with our support, Annette was able to build from the ground up her very first beach house and launch it as well. She recently just used our hidden cash strategy to buy a property for her college age daughter, guys. And she's training her daughter to build wealth with these strategies because her daughter's now renting out the rooms to her classmates. Think about that. Annette embodies our entire summer theme of Lux Legacy Summer, and she won our coveted STG Action Taker Award at our most recent retreat. Now, I love to say to our community, action takers are money makers. Now, when she got to speak, guys, her talk was absolutely a fan favorite. She packed in so many powerful insights, like they were taking notes, there was smoke coming from the notepads. She gave so many actionable gems, and I'm just so excited for you to dive in today to Annette's journey and the wealth of knowledge that she generously shared with the community. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive in.
So, I am Annette Forbes. I am also known as Nurse Net. And I have a coaching program that's called Nurse Net's AED. So, who am I? 27 years as a nurse, wife and mother, my baby, lover. Matter of fact, she just called me, said she did 2 finals, 2 A's. Yeah. Give it to her. Yes. That's a rattlers. And she's also a dancer and award-winning choreographer. Yes. Okay, all right. So that's my baby and love her to death. But I'm a military spouse. My husband is retired and my goal is to retire both of us in 6 years again. So love the Navy. If you're in the Army, Marines, or whatever, don't talk to me. But so everything is all Navy. When I first started this whole journey, I was like, I need something that's going to represent me. So I chose a company of Magnolia Accommodations because magnolia is the flower for the state of Louisiana. And so that's where I am from. If you haven't heard it by now, I have a teeny bit of an accent, and that's because I grew up in New Orleans, okay? Little girl born in the projects. I don't know about little, because I was born at 10 pounds, 5 ounces. So that might not be little, but but I was born there. We lived in the projects. That's where we were. My dad was a police officer. My mom worked for the state as a bridge attendant. She is still working for the state as a bridge attendant at 47 years in the business. Yeah, she thinks she owns the bridge. But with her, my mom and my dad showed me how to work and that if I wanted my circumstances to change, I had to work for it. And then at that time, it was all about education. Education, education, that's your ticket out. That's all anyone knew. So after a couple of years in the projects, we got a trailer, and we thought we had moved it on up. Right, George, and we were like, oh, we in a whole trailer. This is, so it was wonderful. It was a beautiful home for us. My mom made it a good home. She worked a lot, and so a lot of my work ethic definitely comes from my mom. She can't even take off when I come to visit. That's how much she works, and she loves working. So kudos to her. But hopefully I can retire her after next year. That's definitely, yeah. I'm like, yes, yes. I'm like, Mom, it's time for you to let the money come to you instead of you going to get the money. So that's my hope and dream as far as that. Like I said, I always thought education was going to be my ticket out. I studied hard. I was top of my class. I was a nerd most of the time. I was a cute nerd, but I was a nerd. And so that was my ticket. So I don't know if a couple of you may have already heard it before, but I was on a podcast with Doc Working, and it basically talked about my journey from being a burnt out nurse into a beach house owner. And during that time, it all felt like a fantasy. I was like, okay, am I doing this? Am I buying houses? Well, I bought primary houses, but I didn't have a vacation house. And so I was like, okay, let's go for this and do that. And I went and looked at Rachel's 75 cities. Is it 75 cities? So the top 75 cities during that time, that was last year. Yeah, that was last year. So there was this place called Biloxi, Mississippi, on her 75 list, top 75. And it was pretty far up there. So I was like, okay, I know a little bit about Biloxi because my daughter was born in Biloxi General. I worked at Biloxi General. When I married my husband, we were stationed right outside of Biloxi. So I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. So then I got another email, I want to say from AirDNA, and it said the top 5 beaches that people forget about. So Biloxi was on there again. I was like, okay, it must be something to this that I keep seeing the same thing. So I started looking into it. I had a vision of what I wanted my property to look like, my ownership, what I wanted it to look like. And I couldn't find anything in that vision. And I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to my vision. If that's what I see, then that's what I want. So the realtor I was working with, he was into short-term rentals himself, so that helped me greatly. He knew the regulations, he knew where I needed to be, where I shouldn't be. So after a couple of viewings, we ended up where I just didn't like anything, but I knew I wanted to be there. So he asked me, like, how out of the box did I want to go with this property? And I said, as far as we need to go. He found me a piece of land that was a block off the beach. Whoa. Block off. Like, you could literally stand on the land and you'd see the beach right there. So we went. I was like, I want it. I don't know what I'm putting on it, but I want the land, right? So we purchased this land. I was able to bargain it down to less than $50,000. No. Yes. Less than 50, yeah. So purchased the land, found me a contractor. The contractor was wonderful throughout the entire situation. He was allowing me to send furniture to his warehouse. I had sofa, stove, microwave, all of that sitting in the warehouse, and the house wasn't even built yet. Because it was like Black Friday when I did it. I was like, okay, I'm getting all this stuff on sale. So that's what I did. And so once we connected, he was from Louisiana, so we had that connection there, and he was just great, phenomenal. I remember Easter Sunday, I was at the place and there was no electricity because the power company hadn't turned it on, and he came and brought me Easter dinner. Yeah, so it was really nice. So I love him to death, Mr. Dennis, very simple guy. So short-term rental experience. When I first got in, I did arbitrage simply because I didn't have the W-2 and I didn't think ownership was possible because I didn't have the W-2. And I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't know anything about doing numbers and what I should do and so as soon as someone said yes, I jumped on it. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this. Ended up onboarding 2 arbitrage properties, different states, none of the states that I live in, and really didn't even know how to operate it. So I was kind of like lost, just trying to figure it out. So like I said, I did those 2 arbitrage properties. This is one of them right here. It's an apartment in Houston, Texas. We are a block away from NRG Stadium, which is the main stadium for concerts. Beyonce was there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made $500 a night on a 1-bedroom flat. Yeah, so it's performing well, and I've been in there. I just renewed my lease for the 3rd time, and to tell you how things are like really crazy and just meant to be. The first year, I was like, I think I'm gonna let it go because it's not giving me the net that I want. So I sent, the cancellation of the lease and everything to the property owners, and they called me while I was in Miramar Beach at this retreat last year. And she said, I see that we have your cancellation for the lease. What can we do to get you to stay? I was like, huh? Now this is coming from everybody always saying no. So now I got someone want me to stay. I said, you know what? The rent is not giving me the margins I want for my net. I said, can we drop down the rent? She was like, how much? I said, about $300 a month. She said, oh, I don't know. Let me check on that. She called me. I said, well, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be there on the 3rd to remove my things. So when I went back into the meeting in one of the conference here, speaking or whatever, and I got a call, and she says, what we can do is decrease your rent by $200 a month and give you a $1,000 concession to go to the first month of the new lease. I was like, oh, wonderful. Like, how did that happen? She said, oh, because we don't have any problem with your guests. We don't have a problem with you paying your rent on time. We don't even really know you there. We forget that, you're even there. So it was all based on the fact of how I ran my business, that she got the approval for me with all of those concessions and lowering the rent. So what you think I did this year? We got rent free in January. Same thing. So that's basically, they don't even allow Airbnb anymore. They stopped doing it because they were having too many problems. So I'm one of few that's in that building. It's about how you take care of the space. Like, their space looks better than it did when I first got it. And that's always my promise to the person when I ask the arbitrage. I'm gonna leave your place the same, if not better, when I leave it. So now I have a couple of recommendations. So I asked her, can you put that in writing? Because once you put it in writing, now I can show the next person how well I run my business.
Yes.
Okay? So always get it in writing.
Yes.
So, like I said, I went into ownership after arbitrage just because I figured out with Rachel's help how to actually own a property without me having a W-2. So figured that out. And then another thing I did to be able to have the ownership is when I was on my W-2, as a family, we did not live off of my income. We only lived off of my husband's income. So that way, if something were to happen and one of us wasn't able to work, we don't have to figure out how we're gonna live on one income. And so that meant that all of my pay went straight to savings. Savings and retirement, it went half and half.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So that's where my down payment came from for my land in the house. Yeah. So I wasn't planning on doing this. It was just something like, let me just save this just in case something happens to one of us and we can't work. So the ownership, this is the property here. We're like a block from the beach. We built it up 12 feet, just simply because I wanted to be able to utilize that space under there. That's a whole nother selling point. You got multiple areas for covered parking. This building behind here is a game room. So the kids go in there and they can play basketball, foosball, Connect Four, video games. And so if you take care of the kids, the parents gonna keep coming back. It's a no-brainer. So that's the property. This mural over here is why Amy going, that was, my daughter loves flamingos. She loves flamingo. And so she wanted a flamingo room. So being spoiled, she got her flamingo room. So one of the things too, when I did all the numbers for this place, the land was across from one of the top performing properties in Gulfport. Top performance. So I was like, okay, how can I go and take her business? So I have to give them something that they can't get across the street, right? So her house was bland. It was just bland. Blue, blah, 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 blue, blah. So I wanted color. I wanted pop. I wanted something that when you look at the picture, oh, that's not something I'm gonna get at next door. So worked with Amy in the beginning to create that. And I told Amy, I said, look, I don't want to do the coastal blues. We're not doing that. And she came back to me with the eggplant purple. I said, that's it. Purple is my favorite color. Eggplant is the color my bridesmaids wore in the wedding. No brainer. Like all of these things just kept aligning. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good. So this property here, it's my baby and it's where I get the best return of energy. When I'm there, I'm peaceful. I even forget to get on meetings. My husband takes naps, he never takes naps. He takes naps there. So it's been great. This summer, we kicked butt. We were booked more than a lady across the street. We kicked butt. Yeah, we kicked butt. So after I did arbitrage, ownership, then co-host. I was like, what do you mean I'm gonna run somebody else's property? How is that gonna work out? So I started off with one lady who asked me to do it, and she didn't align with what I was trying to do. I wanna give the guests a quality experience, and if she doesn't have pillowcases on the pillows, I mean, that's not gonna work for me. Yeah, and she had it ready for guests. No pillowcases on the pillows. I'm like, what are we doing? On the wall in her professional pictures, looked like somebody was doing this on the wall with a crayon. So that didn't work for me. And then I was introduced to Dr. Sarah. Dr. Sarah is the owner of the properties that I co-host in Michigan. Now, here we are, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, Michigan. Okay, so how are we gonna do that? So I started out with Dr. Sarah, and she gave me one of her houses to co-host. She had 6 properties. One of them was a quadplex. And during the time that I took over for her, I put in all of my operations procedures, all of my standards, all of these things. And we were getting bookings, but we weren't getting 5-star reviews. And so I said, no, something is not happening. I flew out to Michigan and I fired everybody on her team. The cleaner had to go. She did not know the last time she cleaned the oven. There was mold in the refrigerator. Now this is not my cleaner. I didn't hire this person. I was kind of giving her. The maintenance guy said that there wasn't any repairs. I pull up and the light at the garage is out. All the lights in the basement are out. And the basement is used for gaming for the kids. And there's no light in there. We had doors that didn't lock. It was just like a bunch of stuff. So I ended up firing all of them. Since then, her latest one said that she made $60,000 more this year than she did last year with me hosting that property. Yeah, so they were just collecting money. This is the property here. Why are we not getting 5-star reviews? This is the property now because now I got a new cleaner. He leaves those lines in, and I love them because it just makes it seem like the place is, really clean and nice. So just to tell you a little bit of process about once I fired the cleaner and the maintenance guy, my process of getting people on is I go on Facebook. I post a little flyer that I make up, very professional, say, hey, we're looking for members of our team. I prefer host referrals on top of a cleaner just saying, yes, I can do it. If the cleaner then says to me or send me a message and say they want to do it, I'll allow it. But I have a form. It's a questionnaire that every cleaner that I hire must complete. If they don't bother to complete all the questions on the questionnaire, they don't get hired. I don't even bother to call them. Because cleaning, I want someone who is detailed and who is going to follow through completely with the task. If you can't upload pictures of your last place that you cleaned, why is that? Is it not clean? I put in those processes, found me a really good cleaner. He's a gentleman, and so he cleans all 6 properties for us, and he does a phenomenal job. I set the expectations early as to what it is that I want. Are you willing to change the battery on the camera if I ask you to? Are you willing to change the battery in the smoke detector if I ask you to? Are you willing to pull the trash from the house? So these are the things that before I hire someone, I set the expectation, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. That way, when you're giving me your rate, you know that's included in your rate, okay? And so you really want to have a clear understanding with the cleaner from the very beginning. These are the photos. This is how the house must look after you finish. My cleaners are also required to provide after pictures. If you send no after pictures, you get no money. It is a requirement. And that expectation is set from the very beginning. That's why I think someone said something about pull up or drop by, or I don't have to because I already know what it looked like. I know what it looked like every single clean. And I go through those pictures myself. I go through them myself. And if I see something behind the toilet, I'm gonna need you to go back and fix that. It's really just getting the right cleaner who understands what you're trying to give the best experience to the guests as possible. I don't want anyone in my inbox talking about the place is not clean. There's 2 things with operations that have to be high level: communication and cleaning. You can have all the nice furniture you want, but if that communication and cleaning is not up to par, you are not getting a 5-star review. 5-star reviews help your algorithm. It helps you to be seen. And I know a lot of you are here for MTR, but you still have to understand the principles of operations, whether you're doing MTR or STR. Okay, it's going to change a little bit with MTR because you don't have as many touches. But then that also makes your touches have to count. That guest has to know that you care about the experience that they're going to have at your property. You don't want them showing up and they can't get in the door. Yes, I automate that, but programs don't always work. So we still have to monitor those type of things. Another thing I did with this property, she was asking for less than $200 a night. I was like, no wonder your calendar is full. Now that property goes $300 to $500 a night. During football season, University of Michigan, right down the street, that property goes for $1,000 a weekend. Yeah. So there's been times I've had insurance contact me and they want this place, but it didn't pay for me to cancel my other visits because we were already making above what we needed to make by just doing rentals on the weekend. So this is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath too. And so the reason why we were able to increase the prices and actually get people to book is because it was all turned around with the procedures. People are getting the information to be able to, drive to the property. They're getting information as far as the door lock and things like that. So they get a guidebook. There's a guidebook in the house. We send them a PDF guidebook in the check-in instructions. It's all there for them. We suggest local areas. I didn't put a picture here, but the backyard is like a beautiful oasis. It's huge, plenty of room for the guests to just kind of sit out there and chill. We got a fireplace out. Like, none of this was pictured when I took over the property. The fireplace outside, there was a grill, of course. So once I took over, got the reviews in that we deserved, we ended up getting a request to shoot a commercial at this property. And it was a dog commercial, like a dog poop scoop or whatever. And I was like, you guys not leaving dog poop in the yard, right? You gonna scoop it. Yeah, so this is the property that turned around. Like I said, 6,000 more just from processes and procedures that were put in place. So putting processes, procedures brought me to Superhost on Airbnb. And a little funny story about that. When I first started, I had my second guest at the Houston property gave me a 1-star review because he was very upset about not getting a refund for a time he extended. But he didn't get the refund because he wouldn't unblock the calendar. So he left a 1-star review. Rachel herself told me, Annette, tank the listing. She told me to tank it. She was like, just start over, tank it. Let me see what I can do. We're Superhost. We've been Superhost for over a year now. And with that, even with that property. But after that second guest, I put in measures for the guests to understand what the refund policy is from the very beginning, and they have to acknowledge that they understand what it is. Most of the time it's strict and you don't get no money back, but I want them to understand that because a lot of times people don't read. They don't read all of those. Like you may spend hours in putting all this stuff in your listing description, but they do not read. And they'll swear that, oh, I thought I could do this. No, it's actually there. Since that 1-star review, I've never had a 1-star review to stick. I just had a guest I had to kick out of the Houston property on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. He had the police at my unit, 3 policemen at my unit. And domestic violence, I worked within the rules of Airbnb. If you're gonna use Airbnb verbal, you need to understand what the platform rules are because guests will take advantage of you. Yeah. I see a lot of people who say, oh, Airbnb this and Airbnb that, but what measures did you put in place to make sure that you didn't have that occurrence? And so that's what I try to do. Even it's constantly working on my listings all the time to make sure that I put things in place that's not gonna cause me problems along the way. And so one of the things I did is I initiated a deposit, no third-party bookings, and for him as the refund, it's stated in there, if you unblock the calendar, then this will be refunded to you, okay? So, What do you mean unblock? They cancel. So say like their reservation is from today until next Thursday. Well, say they cancel on Wednesday for a good reason, of course. So if they cancel the booking on Wednesday, then they'll unblock my calendar and then I can rebook that day if necessary, okay? That means they're leaving early, and I even give them the option, if I can rebook it, I'll give you half your money back. So depending on what it is. But if they're just wanting to leave early, I don't do that. But if there's like some extreme situation, like in Houston, we take care of a lot of medical guests. So if there's a reason medical, then I have enough compassion to be like, yeah, go ahead. And most of the time they're elderly and I'll give them a refund, yeah. So it's just, but I don't do that with a 19-year-old who's coming there to do all kind of turn up and all that, turn down, whatever. So I don't do that for them. I'm also a premier host on Verbal. I do Airbnb Verbal. I even do Booking.com also. And a lot of people stay away from Booking.com because of certain things, but I have processes and procedures in place. We have a Booking.com guest who just last night booked our place in Gulfport and her card was invalid. So guess what? Your reservation is canceled until I get a new card. And she has to go through that process. Booking.com, people have issues with receiving their money. But if you're on top of the situation, you have the process, you have the procedures in place, you can deter from all of that. How many of you actually have properties out of your backyard, not in your backyard, like remote, like you host remotely? Okay. How many of you have turned down opportunities because you were afraid to host remotely? Yeah. A lot of people do that because what happens when I can't do a pop-up drive-by? I still do pop-ups. I did pop-up in Marietta and caught my cleaner doing all kind of outrageous things and marijuana and everything, and guess what? She got fired, and I got me another cleaner in there. Things are going to happen whether or not they're in your backyard or remotely. You just have to have the processes and procedures in so that, okay, if this happens, how are we going to take care of that? Okay, if I fire this cleaner, then who am I going to get the cleaner? You should have a backup cleaner. Whether you there or not, you should have a backup cleaner, okay? And you let that backup cleaner know that she is the backup cleaner or he is the backup cleaner. And you also let your primary cleaner know that every now and then you're going to give that backup cleaner a little bit of work because you want to keep them on your team. And so if you're not using them, they're not going to be available that last minute when you need them to clean. But if you already are nurturing that relationship with them, then they're happy to come and help you out of a bad situation. So who is the most important person on the team? You. Everybody else is replaceable.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody else is replaceable. If you are not making sure that those people are in line with what you want to do, then you're going to crumble. You have to make sure that the cleaner understands what their role is. The maintenance person understands what their role is. Your assistant, if you have, what is their role? And you have to be that person to make sure that they are in line with what you have envisioned for your business, okay? So you are the most important person. This is how I am able to manage remotely. This is how I am able to go to Hawaii and not look at my phone. How I'm able to go to Jamaica and eat all the jerk chicken I want and not worried about what's going on, okay? There are certain things in, whether it's MTR or STR, you can automate. Why should you be notifying, sending your cleaner a text message every time you need her to clean? Nobody got time for that. So you can set it up, especially if you have a PMS, a property management system. And I advise everybody to have a property management system. I use OwnerRez. OwnerRez is fabulous, love it. Rental agreement automatically goes to the guest. They automatically let me know whether or not the guest has signed it. They automatically send a message to the guest to say, hey, you need to sign this, and that's not giving you instructions, okay? Deposit, automatic. It sends me a message to let me know, hey, so-and-so did not put their deposit. And it automatically puts check-in instructions on pause. You have to fill out the renter agreement. You have to fill out the deposit, and you have to provide a credit card on hold in order to get my check-in instruction. And that is in my listing. So when the guest complains that Magnolia does not want to give me the door code to Airbnb, Airbnb calls me and I said, these rules here have not been taken care of. Airbnb gives back, okay, and calls the guest and say, hey, you need to do this, because she said she would ask for it. She said she would ask you for your ID verification. So all of that is automatic. My ID verification is also automatic. I use SuperHog, and when the guest books, SuperHog automatically sends them a verification link. They have to upload their stuff. SuperHog put them through all that I asked, the criminal background and all of this stuff, and then they'll let me know, hey, they're approved, or there's a problem with their verification. Yeah.
Even for midterms, they can continue with like monthly payments through OwnerRez
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm. We can receive payments through that. Mm-hmm.
So you don't use the Airbnb, the service they have for checking the IDs or setting up your calendar?
Airbnb don't check that. They don't check that. They're gonna say, oh, we need to verify your ID. I could put a picture of a horse there. They don't They just said, oh, that person did the ID verification. I need to know who you are, if you have any criminal background, especially if you're a sex offender, child molester. I want to protect my guests around me too, my neighbors. If you're not supposed to be within so many miles of a child, and my neighbor has a child next door, we have a problem. I'm not going to live with that on my conscience that I allow something to happen. So you have to be screened on top of what Airbnb says, and Airbnb will back me because I am API connected via owner res. Keyless entry. My codes automatically go out. They're connected to my listing, so when my guest does the reservation, they automatically get. I set it up as the last 4 digits of their phone number, and they don't know that initially, and then the key code is activated automatically. The system will know that, okay, so-and-so is checking in tomorrow at 4 p.m. We allow a 30-minute grace period. So we do 3:30, so-and-so can get in, their code will start at that time, and then their code will only last for a certain amount of time. Until the day of checkout, we do it like at 10:30, checkout is at 10. After 10:30, if you forgot a blanket, sorry, boo-boo, you can't go in. Can't go in.
What system do you use for that?
For the keyless entry.
I like Sledge Encode. I like those locks, and you can connect those directly. And then, like I said, a message template. So the guest does an inquiry. We have an automatic template that goes out. Guest books, we have an automatic template that goes out. So there's a lot of templates. Before they actually come to the property, we have messages going out automatically 3 days before, 2 days, 1 day before, and on the day of. So we provide a lot of communication. I've never had less than a 5-star in communication.
My question is, so I hear a lot of different systems, like each individual system.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a parent system that kind of talks to these different ones, or do you just keep track of each one? The Sledge Encode and then the Super Hub.
All of that is set up through OwnerRes. Mm-hmm.
OwnerRes.
OwnerRes manages all of that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I guess that's what I was gonna say, like with the keyless entry, like I have Yale and like the Ring security system, but you say you can take Ring, Yale, and put them into OwnerRes so that they're all communicating.
Well, not Ring.
Okay.
You can put Yale, the lock,
Yeah.
in there, and it'll integrate.
What security system do you use?
I like Blink.
Blink.
Ring batteries die too fast for my liking. And Blink, on top of Blink, there are solar panels. I suggest you purchase for every camera. That will save you a whole lot of grief about worrying about the battery. Like once we started doing that, I hardly ever ask, unless it can't be in a position where it can't catch any sun. But yeah, but do the solar. With every lock, when we set them up, it's 3, we have a master code and then 2 dummy codes for every lock. That way, in case something will happen and the guests can't get in with their code, we can give them a dummy code. Yeah, but we check our batteries. We monitor the batteries on the cameras and the locks, and my team knows if there's below 50%, then we need to take action. Yeah.
The security system, do you just have the camera for when they're coming in the house? Do you have some in the back, in the house? Like how
At every entrance, there is a camera. Every entrance. Absolutely not in the house. You don't even want it pointing towards the house. Like if the front door is here, you need to go this way with your camera so that you're not able to go inside the house with it. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sue.
What about house with pool or, like outdoor amenities like pool, hot tub? Do you put a camera in the recreational area?
I do not have a pool or a hot tub, but I would not. That is a privacy. Why do I need to look at that? I just want to know who's going in and out of my property. So for me, I would not. So basically, we set up all that pricing software. I like to use Price Labs. It's like, I don't know, you can put so many settings, custom settings. But the one thing I want everybody to understand, it is not set it and forget it. It is not set it and forget it. You still have to go in there and manipulate to see whether or not Price Labs is getting you the money to pay them. Like, do you have my prices adjusted where I could get bookings? Also, I like about Price Labs, if you are in a situation you don't understand how to do something, you want to try something differently, you can contact them, their customer service, and set up an appointment to have a one-to-one on it. And I advise you, if you're just now starting with Price Labs, to definitely do that at the beginning and periodically every month. I would do that. I still do it, and I learn something new every time about the software. But don't set it and forget it. If you're going, let me give you all a little tip here. If you're going to change your pricing as far as like a promotion, say like you want to give a discount, you do promotions in Airbnb, not on Price Labs, because Airbnb will boost you up and say, hey, look, so-and-so is giving a discount over here. If you do it in Price Labs, you won't get that boost. And another thing with Price Labs, this is a very valuable tip. If you have that listing on multiple platforms, you only need to set up one parent listing on Price Labs, and then say that that parent listing is Airbnb. Then you set up a child listing with that exact same information that goes to Verbo. That way they only charge you for the one listing. You're still going to go ahead and have the prices, they're gonna match by doing parent-child, but you're only paying for the one. So, yes, ma'am.
I know that we had talked a little bit about Furnish Finder being a little bit more antiquated. Can that also be a child listing, or can you do that separately?
It's separately. Because with Furnish Finder, you're putting in a monthly fee. So you're not doing the whole daily thing. Yeah. Noise monitor, you just heard mine go off, right? Every property has a noise monitor. I want to know that there's a problem at my property before my neighbors know that there's a problem at my property. This is how I stay in nice suburbs. Okay, nice suburbs, they don't want all of this the noise level going above 80, 90 decibels. Like, that's crazy. And it's 11 o'clock at night. Nice suburb people like to go to bed at 10. They don't want to hear all that noise. So I don't want them to have to call the cops, cause a problem with my business. I don't need the cops interfering in nothing that I'm doing. And then the next thing you know, if there's an HOA or any type of community, they're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna report you. And so that messes with your business. So you need to know what's going on with that. And our noise monitors are automatic also. So it goes off. After the third time that it goes off every 10 minutes if the guest is still making noise. And then after the third time, the guest gets notified that there's a noise level that's too high. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it says, but basically telling them to be quiet. That's records for me. If there's a problem and I need to get them out of there and they're, say like they're Airbnb, guess what? Now I can send a screenshot to Airbnb. This is what's going on. My noise monitor also detects smoke. So in case they smoke, so in case they're like, oh, I didn't know it was no smoking. Are you logged on to the internet? Because it says no smoking. And so the noise monitor let me know if there's an area. I position it where I feel like there's gonna be the most traffic. If there's a living room and kitchen connected, I place it there. If it's not connected and it's separate, then it's usually somewhere around the living room, but I try to make sure it's not by a TV or anything like that. Anything like that. Minute. So it is another way you kind of deter. So that's in my listing. When the guest reads that she has a noise monitor, guess what? I don't guess we could have a party because they will get kicked out. So this is basically most of them I use. I don't use hospitable, but I'm looking into it for other things, but just other options for you guys. Rank Breeze, I didn't really talk much about that, but that is a system that I learned from Dr. Rachel to monitor where my properties are in the ranking, in the algorithm. So if I have a property that's on page 3 and that's not gonna cut it for me, so now I gotta make some changes to get that, closer to page 1 as I can. Yep.
And that's part of our troubleshooting tactics, because like Annette says, you don't just set it and forget it, right? If you're not getting bookings, what are you doing? You're gonna just sit there, I'm not getting bookings.
Yeah.
With me? No.
Yeah.
First question is, well, am I even visible? Right? And if you go onto Airbnb, you're gonna show up on page 1 for yourself because of how you're cooking. And so it's like, hey, either No, when Annette goes to look up your problem, she can't find you. You're on page 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people go to Google and they go to on page 17? It's like, you're not the first 10 years, you're really nobody. So, rankings will let you know, hey, boo, you're on page 17. That's why I'm not getting
Yeah. Yeah. You fix it because you want to see who's on page 1.
That's right.
So now I'm going to see what you got going on over here on page 1 that I need to put in my listing. So they already got the formula. They on page 1. They doing something right.
Yeah.
Do I need to change my title? Do I need to put that I'm at the Edgar Allan Poe place in my title? You know, like whatever it is, I'm going to just do what they're doing. So it's all about let me take your spot. It's business. It's business. What's up, Jen?
Do you use Wheelhouse?
I have not used Wheelhouse. I started with Price Labs. I like Price Labs, so it wasn't. Yeah.
This last week I met the guys from Wheelhouse.
Mhm.
They're super nice. Yeah.
It's another pricing optimization.
I didn't know about Wheelhouse, honestly. And so what I come to find out is that it was dynamic pricing. So that's why I asked,
Okay.
because I saw Price Labs up there as well.
So
Okay.
Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, and Price Labs are the 3 dynamic pricing tools that are out there.
Yeah.
The reason I started with Price Labs, and I shared with my students to start with Price Labs, and I know that you appreciated this, was they were the only ones that had fixed pricing. They wanted their $11 a month, and that was it. Wheelhouse at the time wanted a 2% of all of the revenue I
Yeah.
wanted. I don't like people taking percentages out of my life, so I'm not just give you a $11
Yeah.
so I'm done.
Yeah.
And so Wheelhouse and Beyond Price, they both had a percentage of revenue share for
Okay.
their using their software. But now they have added the option for a fixed price, but we had already been with Price Labs, so we just stayed put. But those are also other options. The other thing that I noticed with Wheelhouse and Beyond Pricing, their numbers seem to be a little bit more accurate for areas where there are more of a destination market. And Wheelhouse seemed to be a little bit more accurate for markets with 1-bedroom arbitrage properties. And I felt as though Price Labs more met our needs. So far, it's worked out.
Yeah.
Of course, we still need to tweak.
Yeah.
That said, but they all have their nuances. I know they all are going to say they can do all the things, but that's not necessarily true. Amidst from Price Labs, the other thing that I did like about Price Labs is they're nationwide, whereas Wheelhouse and Beyond, they were rolling out to different regions, little by little, and they weren't completely nationwide quite yet. And so, yeah.
And so basically when you decide on the pricing, they'll give you recommendations, what they think in the market. There's a whole neighborhood market for free. You can see what the hotels are doing. It's like a plethora of information on there that can help you decide what's the best price for you. And then once you put it in Price Lab, it goes out to all of your listings on every platform. Okay? So you connect it with the listing, and so that it'll update. Once you hit sync, it'll go out to the platforms. Otherwise, I think it's every night that it will sync, just in case there's a price change that needs to be made.
And change the prices automatically.
Yeah, Eliminate. So with the Eliminate, every Monday, I have Money Tree Monday. And so I look at the processes in my business to see what it is that I don't need, I need to tweak. What can I get rid of to save me some money? Okay, hey, we don't want to be spending money we don't need to. Like, if I wasn't using RankBreeze, why would I continue with it? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Because sometimes we get caught up in that fear of missing out mentality. Oh, so-and-so just said this was good, let me get that. Well, if you're not really using it, you know, you don't need to be paying for it. So I take that time to really just shake that money tree and see what we can get off it. And we also go through the house rules, okay? If there was, especially like during the busy season, is there a problem that we're encountering all of the time, or a couple of times? More than one is too many for me. So do we need to put a rule in place? Do we need to make sure we communicate to the guests so that we don't have that problem anymore? That's how we end up eliminating certain problems from before they even happen. That's part of the making sure that the house rules are clear and the guest understands it. You know, just because you put it out there once doesn't mean that they read it. So sometimes you got to kind of put it out there a couple of times to make sure that, hey, look, this must be important because she keeps sending me this. A lot of things we do also is to make sure if something were to happen, like when I set up my listing, I'm like, okay, we got to set this up to function as if a 2-year-old was coming to stay here. And I don't mean that as an insult to an adult, but people don't read. they just don't. So how can we make this basic so that we can prevent problems? One of the big things when I was building the house in Gulfport, I wanted ceiling fans, but I did not want a remote control and I did not want a string, because it's not if but when that string breaks. It's not if or when. The remote's gonna get lost. Then what I'm gonna do? As I was building the house, it's in the electrical to control the light, the ceiling fan, up, down, whatever. It's in there. The plugs. Everybody has cell phones, devices, so I had my contractor to put in USB plugs on each side of the bed, wherever. So just to kind of make things so that they're not worrying about trying to get into plugging in multiple things into one outlet they're not supposed to, using their own extension cord or anything like that. Just kind of doing a little preventive measures, because I don't want to have to deal with anybody burning down my house. I do have a team, and we get together every Monday also, and we communicate about issues that may have coming up the previous week. Communication, like I said, communication is my biggest thing. I'm gonna communicate. I don't care if they're like, oh, I'm tired of you, email. If you're not answering on Airbnb or verbal, guess what? I'm going in your email. You're not answering in the email, guess what? I'm going in your text message. If you're not answering the text message, guess what? I'm calling you. Communicate. And that 9 times out of 10, that will solve any issues. Hey, look, there's construction in the neighborhood. Letting them know that, oh, this is on a busy highway. Just letting them know that, so you don't get that review that says, oh, it was noisy. But it's in the listing that construction is going on in the neighborhood. I really can't control that. And it helps them to understand what it is that they're to expect. And when there was construction going on, I left earplugs at the bedside. Oh, wow. And then I leave a noise monitor also. And one of my favorites is a box fan. I love a box fan. I use it every day in my life. So I was like, I use it because I want to drown out noise. So very soothing, better than meditation. Setting up the cleaners, you want to set your cleaner up for success. My linen closet, let me tell you, there's labels. If I'm using, I love to color code beds as far as the bed sheets. White is for king, beige is for queen, dark gray is for full, light gray is for twin. So if I have all of those properties, they know by the color, and it's written in the linen closet, little labeler, to say this color belongs to that. So they don't have to figure out, oh, okay, let me take this sheet over here, is it gonna fit this bed? No, it's already color coded, okay? And so you wanna just make sure that you're setting them up for success, that they have the items that they need to make your property as clean as you want it to be. Some cleaners they do provide the cleanest stuff, material, but I also provide my own, because I never want you to say you can't vacuum the house because your vacuum is broke. So setting them up for success is big. The other thing, delegate. This was really tough for me to look at what it is that I do all day that really doesn't need to be done by me, because I think everything needs to be done by me. Yeah, but in reality, this is how I grow my business. By, as Ruben says, working on my business instead of in my business, by delegating to certain people. There are some tasks I delegate to cleaners, not necessarily to my assistant. Changing the thermostat, making sure the thermostat is at the right temperature for the next guest. The cleaners, I also ask them, are you able to accept packages for me? Yeah, because guess what? When the toilet paper or paper towels run out, I don't want to send it to the property and it just be sitting there. Or send it to the property and there's a guest there. What do you think they're gonna do with my good toilet paper? So I send it to their house, and that's an understanding that I get from the cleaner before I hire them on. Okay. I create a checklist. Every cleaning closet has the photos, the professional photos, and there's instruction under each room photo on how I want that place, that area to be clean. So it doesn't matter if I go in there and I dismiss my current cleaner, the other cleaner has a clear picture of what I want done. It's already in the closet. And you're not the only property that they're cleaning. So they need to know what it is that you expect, because another host might not expect that. I expect all my linens to be clean. If it's a duvet, you need to take that duvet off, and you need to take that duvet insert, and all of that need to be clean. All of that. And I also provide 3 sets of beddings for each bed, 3 sets. They don't have to wait on the washer and dryer to be finished. Here's my receipts.
Annette, let's go back real quick. So
Okay.
you said that was important was how you have the photos inside of that closet.
Yeah.
Because the cleaner is not just the cleaner, they also have to design
Damage.
a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for us, it's something that I fail to appreciate. But if I would get a photo back from my cleaners and the pillows are like this,
Mm-hmm.
it would just burn my biscuits. Like, why are my pillows like that? But I was setting them up for success.
Yeah.
To them, it's cute to be on the side.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. Yes.
I don't like
And that's what the guest is expecting, right? There's a question that asks, was the place like you thought it was going to be, or something to that effect? So if the cleaner done went and did her own design, no. Yeah. 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 And so, these are just some of the reviews that we get from guests, and, what they've had to say about our properties and how we've handled things. And I love when they say my name, because that means that they're going to remember me. They're going to come back to me. And I've set a standard for their next place that they're going to. So, more receipts. Got to have receipts, baby. And that was a phenomenal host. Glamour at the Beach, that's our property in Gulfport. It has this whole identity. And here we go. This is, if you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you want to contact me. NurseNet AED also does mentoring or coaching. Rachel will get you the property. I will get your property listed. Yes. Immediately. Immediately.